Hey guys, welcome back to How to Paint Miniatures. Today we're going to go over priming the mini and base coating the miniature. Okay, so right now I just got a little orc guy, and this is how we're going to prime all the models. Okay, so it's the same for every single one, don't worry about it. I'm going to use that Krylon Gray primer we bought at Walmart for $4, and all I'm going to do is to prime, and sorry about the lighting, it's dark, it's nighttime, whatever. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of spray. Here's your model. You're going to start over here, and you're going to spray across like this. Okay, you're not going to do such a long movement, just a quick little like this. You're going to start before the model and after the model. Okay, and then you're going to do that and rotate the model as you go. And you're going to do it from the top, do it from the bottom, and I'll show you what that looks like. It's best to wear a glove or something. So if you don't have a glove, you can use a plastic bag, just anything, a grocery bag or whatever works. You're going to hold the model just like so, and I'm going to spray by the window. Make sure you spray in front of a well-ventilated area, either outside in a garage that has good ventilation, or I like to do it just kind of by my window here. So yeah, and also make sure you shake up the can for at least 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, so just kind of like this. I like to do that too, and circle motions. Okay, I'll be right back while I do that. Alright, here we go. Now you also want to make sure you spray at a distance of about 6 to 8 inches, sometimes 12. You want to do it in short little bursts. Kind of like that. Get underneath. Okay, and as you see, because we're doing it in just short little bursts, and because it's such a good primer, it actually dries really quickly. I think it says in 10 minutes or less, but because we're using it so thinly, it actually dries within like a minute. It's crazy. Now, it doesn't dry to paint in a minute, it dries to touch in a minute. You're going to want to leave it for a good couple hours before you start painting. And to be honest, you actually don't need to cover the whole mini. So you may get stuff like, or people telling you that you need to cover the whole model. No, you don't. As long as you're spraying at the model, the air around it is enveloping it in the primer. There's two parts to a primer. There's the priming agent, which is an adhering, there's the pigment, which is the color, and then there's the aerosol air, essentially. So as you spray, all three of those things go out and kind of mix into the air and move around. When you see the color, all that is just the pigment, but you don't need that. You want the priming agent. So no matter, even if there are some parts that look like they're not primed, but they still kind of have like this filmy stuff on it, that's okay. That's the priming agent. It's good to go. Alright. Hey guys, so now that we've got our miniature primed, we're going to start by painting it. So I'm going to start by painting this orc's skin. And all I did was take some Narlock green and put it in my well right there. Okay, and I took about a couple dabs from the pot, and all I'm going to do is add a drop or so of water. Okay, that looks fine to me. So you know you got a good consistency of paint when you can take it and you can splosh around. See how it kind of reacts? It's got this kind of watery consistency. So I'm going to put some here. You can actually see it slowly dripping down. Okay? So now another way to test to see if your consistency is good is take some on your brush and wipe it across a piece of paper towel. If it flows right off, very consistent in its color and pattern, then you've got a good mixture. Okay, so now we're actually going to paint. So all I'm doing is I'm taking my brush and I'm dipping it in the paint, and then I'm actually going to wipe off the excess. So once I dip my brush in the paint, I'm just going to quickly wipe it off on paper towel, kind of like we did just a second ago. Okay, and now I'm going to come in with the paint and just kind of brush it over his skin. Okay, so you can see we're working with kind of like a thinner paint, which is good, because using thick paint, it's not very good. I'll try and get a little closer so you can see what we're doing. Okay, so you can see just like this. I'm just going to brush the paint on. Okay, now it will look a little splotchy. It's not going to go on evenly in one coat. We're going to do a couple coats, which is fine. That's what we want. The thinner the paint is, the better it's going to look, because you're going to have a much more even looking surface. Because when you use thick paint, what will happen is it'll clog up the details, and then later surfaces won't be able to adhere to it. So later paint that you add on for layering won't be able to stick to the model. It'll actually kind of like glide off. It's kind of weird. It's because paint is actually made from plastic. It's acrylic paint, and it's made from an acrylic polymer emulsion mixed with pigment. And pigment is essentially ground stones or plants, or there's all different ways to get pigment. So all you're going to do is you're going to apply this Gnarlot green to all the skin areas. So as you can see, I've just been doing it to the face, but you're going to apply it to all the skin areas, and yeah, so I'll come back once I've done that. Alright, so now that we've got all the skin painted, what we're going to do is we're going to go on to the Chaos Black. And what we're going to do is I thinned it down just like we did before, a couple drops of water. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go over all the bits we're going to paint in metallics, and we're also going to go over all the cloth or all the leather with Chaos Black. So I'm going to start up here. Now black is, because it's a much darker color, it actually covers in less layers, because it's so strong. Okay, now you still may want to do 2 layers over top of that, just to get a good kind of idea, and make sure, well, not an idea, but a good cover. Make sure there's no splotchy parts. Nice and even coating. Okay, so I'm essentially going to cover pretty much that whole axe. It all looks like metal to me. So I'm going to move on to the leather, so I can point out where that is. So there's some leather here, essentially his shirt. And don't worry if you spill onto some other parts. It's all about practice. The more minis you do, the better you get. So that's why it's good to get this whole Assault on Blackreach kit, because then you have a lot of models to paint, which means you're going to have a lot of practice, which means you're going to get really good. Okay, and I'll come back once I've done all the parts. Alright, so now that I've painted all the black parts, you may be wondering why I've left some of the armor plates blank. Blanca Gray. And that's because we're going to be painting those yellow. This is the Bad Moon color scheme. So we're going to be using yellows, a little bit of red, and we're going to be using blue to accent. Just some of these wires here and these little like screens. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the yellow parts, and we're going to be using the exact same thing. Alright, we thin it down just a little bit and we wipe off the excess. Okay, so here we go. And I'm using a Yandon Darkstone. Now, yellow is notorious for not covering well, so it'll probably take 3 or so layers before it kind of works itself in. Okay, so all I'm going to do is paint all the rest of the armor plates this yellow color, and I'll be right back. Alright. So now that we've painted all the yellow parts, I'll give you a quick little look at what I painted. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to paint the brown leather and the leather straps. Okay, so get a close up here. And I'm just using the Calvin Brown. Oh. Had some blacks on my brush still. That wasn't good. Okay, so you're going to paint all the straps with this. Then also the leather up on each wrist. Little leather guards here. I'm going to paint those. Okay, I'll be right back. Alright guys, so I painted the leather. And now we're going to move on to one of the last base coating parts. That's the metal. And then we're going to just base coat, what else? We need the red. So that'll be the wire here, probably, maybe that lens in his eye. And then blue. The blue will probably actually be that lens right there. And then we'll be done base coating, pretty much. Alright, so let's get on to the metallics. So for metallics, I'm using the chainmail, and I'm actually using a separate brush, and I'm using a separate water pot because there's metallic pigments in the metallic paints, and you don't want to get that mixed up with your normal brush or your normal water, because then when you go to paint your normal colors, they'll have metallic pigments in them. It's not very good. So I'm gonna just paint. Let's see, come on, get the focus. Oh, way too much on my brush. Forgot to wipe off. Alright, and you're just gonna paint all the metal parts, like up here. Okay, and this is just chainmail with a little bit of water in it. You just treat your metallic paints the same as you would your other paints. Okay. And the key about painting all of this stuff is about taking your time and making sure it looks nice. because if you rush, it's not going to look as good as if you had taken your time. Okay, and if you take your time, you won't make as many mistakes. In fact, you'll probably not make mistakes, right? Because all steady hand is, like, maybe like, oh, Gary, I don't have a steady hand. Well, then slow down. Stop trying to paint so fast. Take your time, right? Just kind of go with it. And I'm also going to paint all these bullets this color. I'm going to paint the majority of the gun this color. I'm going to paint this thing up here. And anything else I deem metallic worthy. I'll be right back. Alright guys, and now we're just getting into the final detailing. And we're going to paint red now. So I noticed over here on the gun, there's this thing. So I'm going to paint it red. I'm going to actually paint that face yellow. But I'm going to paint the rest of this red. So this is using Mechrite red. Over here, I wanted to paint this tube, this wire I should say. Just like before, just do a couple layers and it'll start to show up brighter, more solid. A good technique for painting is kind of what I'm doing right here. I'm bracing my pinky on the hand that's holding the model. And I also have my elbows, braced on my table here. And that will allow me to have a much steadier hand. Okay, and then I'm also going to do the eye right here. Okay, and we can go around that area with a little bit of green, touch it up, and then we just have the blue and the bleach. Okay guys, so essentially we've got all the base coating done. Okay, so all I did was I just went over the teeth with bleached bone and that little thing right there with Moridian blue. Okay, and now the base coating is complete. And to be honest, this is perfect for tabletop. You could go and use this for tabletop and no one would care. It would actually look kind of decent. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to follow along because we're not done. We're going to do a couple more things. We're going to wash it and then we're going to highlight. Hey guys, so now that we've done all the base coating, what we're going to do is we're going to wash the model. We're going to start with Badab Black, and we're going to go over all the parts except for the yellow. Alright, let's see what that looks like. Let me open this. So to use this, all we're going to do is dip our brush in the pot, get some on, and then wipe off, not all of it. I'm not wiping it off on a paper towel, just kind of wiping it off on the upper part of the lid, because we don't want a whole lot on our brush, but we do want quite a bit. So as you can see, we get this. It kind of just flows off. You're pretty much going to cover the whole model with that. Alright guys, so for the next step, we're going to be painting the yellow, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be washing it. And you may have noticed that I went ahead and painted some of the model. I just wanted to test kind of like my scheme that I'm going to be doing. So, just some Devlin mud. And don't really worry too much about how it looks. If it ends up being a little splotchy, that's okay. We're going to be kind of painting over it again anyways. So that is fine. Alright, and that's essentially all you need. Now we're going to go on to the next step.